Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the inaugural episode of Superintendents Unplugged, In Depth with Davis, the podcast where we'll dive deep into the world of educational leadership. I'm your host, Addison Davis, and I'm thrilled to have you join me as we embark on the inspiring journey together. As a superintendent once myself, I understand the challenges and complexities that come with leading a school district. But what I've come to realize is that there's abundance of amazing work being done by superintendents all across our country. This podcast is a platform to shine a spotlight on their incredible accomplishments and innovative approaches. Each episode will bring you exclusive interviews and superintendents from various districts across our country, both big and small, urban and rural, as they share their personal stories, triumphs, and even their moments of vulnerability. We will explore the strategies they employ to tackle the ever-evolving landscape of education, from fostering equity and inclusivity to embracing technology and preparing students for their future. But this podcast isn't just about showcasing success. It's about fostering a community of educational leaders who can learn from one another, share their experiences, and collectively navigate the complexities of our role. We'll discuss the tough topics as well, the difficult decisions, and the innovative solutions that are transforming education for the better. So while you're an educator, a parent, a student, or simply someone who's passionate about education, this podcast is for you. Superintendents Unplugged is your behind-the-scenes pass to the world of educational leadership, where we uncover the stories that inspire, motivate, and empower every one of us. Get ready to be inspired, challenged, and entertained as we embark on this incredible journey together. I can't wait to introduce you to the remarkable superintendents who are changing the educational landscape one district at a time. Welcome to another episode of Superintendents Unplugged, In Depth with Davis. I'm your host, Addison Davis, also here with our strategist partner, Todd Lamb, has a podcast on the clock. And today we have a special guest with us, the superintendent of VVS in New York. Thank you, Martha Group, for really spending the time with us here in Glendale, California at Age of Learning, listening, learning, and growing. How do we find proactive solutions to accelerate learning, but also being able to be a part of a community of problem solvers with superintendents in order to face the greatest challenges and also have a forecast of what trends in education. Thank you for being here and joining us.
Absolutely. Thanks for the invitation.
Yeah, so let's jump right into this thing. 26 years in the same school district.
Yes.
Awesome. That's really cool. Of those 26 years, 13 years as a chief academic officer, 13 years as a superintendent. How does someone do that? Have to, stay so long and continue to drive the work every single day. Sounds like this is home for you.
It is, and I think the easy answer is you show up. You show up every day, and I think that you show up for the kids and the families in the community, and you build a group of professionals within that community so that everybody is focused in the same direction. Sure. We're all there for the right reason.
Absolutely. 13 years of superintendency, so you've been through and seen a lot. Mm-hmm. The old traditional way that we had to lead prior to the pandemic to currently where we are now. What do you think some of the biggest, different focal points that we're faced with as superintendents that you've experienced?
I think it's cyclical. I think as I reflect on 13 years as a superintendent, 26 years in the district, is that we have to adapt to what's happening around us. And I think schools are a microcosm of society. And so if we don't have systems in place that allow us to adapt to the demands that are placed on us as a microcosm of that society, then we can become irrelevant.
Sure. So
it's remaining relevant and keeping your eye on the present, but also on the future. So I see as superintendent, part of my role is to be attentive to what's going on now, but also thinking, how do I help the district prepare for what may be happening next so that we can continue to evolve. And part of that is building what I call a system of continuous growth.
Sure.
Within that system of continuous growth requires reflection. Where are we? Where have we been? Where are we now? Where are we going? And bringing people together to collaborate on those essential questions.
When I think about 26 years in one district, I think about a person that must be very happy doing what she does.
Yes.
And must love the area, or you would be stark raving mad, right?
Yes.
What's it like to probably, I'm guessing when you hand out diplomas or when you speak at commencements, you're seeing kids walk across the stage whose parents you may have taught in the classroom of their community. What's that like?
It's gratifying. It's very satisfying. It's also very comforting to be able to see people learn and grow over the course of either their childhood, their adolescence, and then having their own children coming to school. It helps me to be able to appreciate that everybody's in a different place in their own growth, and that it's important for us to be supportive and nurturing, so that they can arrive at the place where they are going to be successful by their definition.
You know, one thing we also get into is it's also building on a strong, sound culture in our school districts. Mm-hmm. Culture is everything. And we understand that there's a visible culture that everyone in the community sees, but also there's a invisible culture as well. In your school district, and Sherrill, it's in BVS, it's clarity that the stability that you have from leadership and the stability that you have for teachers and paraprofessionals and the support staff, that you built something special in the last 26 years. Talk about what culture means and how do you create that systemic way of work where people enjoy coming to work every single day, they have a best friend there, and they really want to give best in every single day for children, for themselves.
I think it's important to create an environment where individuals can grow and self-actualize. I think this notion that we become adults and then we are just in this adult space misses the point of continuous growth and continuous learning. I'm a relational person, and it's important to me for others to develop relationships with their coworkers, regardless of their position.
Sure.
So that we see each other as part of the greater good, the whole.
That's right.
Of educating the whole child. And that every interaction that we have with each other, every interaction that we have with the students matters. There are so many moments that we don't necessarily remember, but somebody else might remember. Yeah. Might remember the time that you checked in with them to make sure that they were okay or that their child was okay, or stopped in the hallways and had a conversation with a student that seemed to be very routine to you, but to that individual, it made a difference. But in terms of how to create that kind of a culture, it's important, I think, to bring everyone together, and so that your custodians and your bus drivers and your teachers and your administrators, food service, everybody has opportunities to be in the same room, to hear the same things, and to participate in some of the same professional learning opportunities, so that we have that common language and those common expectations for our children and for each other.
I love that. So, you talk about the inclusive side of it and the equity of learning, the equity of leading, and that brings back opportunities that we want to make certain that there's visibility, there's ventilation opportunities for, to address issues and be a problem solver, and there's validation of cool things that we're doing that they feel good about. And I think the more that we bring a holistic approach of all of our employees to the table, let them be think partners, the greater and stronger they're going to have a better understanding of how to be systems thinkers. So, that also leads into student achievement. You've had some great movements academically. And so how does building that culture lead to seeing systemic movement for the intellectual capacity of learners?
I think that I've always said that I think our district is a good sized district. And what by that
130 plus square miles, right? I mean,
yes.
pretty big, and not a city, but it feels like a village.
Right. But the size piece to me is really more the number of students and the number of employees that we have. So it gives us an opportunity to be able to get to know each other,
Sure.
to get to know our children and
Power.
their families. And there's so much power in that. And that we also, I lost my train of thought here, that the size of our district also is large enough to be able to provide opportunities for students. So if they want to participate in a variety of activities, they can do that.
Yeah.
They can
That's
be involved in athletics and music and agriculture and so forth.
As they start to be actively engaged in co-curricular activity, extracurricular activities, those mean a lot because our educational places, and we talk about our elementaries, our middle schools, and our high schools, and our colleges that we went to, it's always going to be part of who we are in our story.
Yes.
So we can heighten that story, expand the experiences by being actively engaged and involved. And one thing that I think that's really fascinating about BVS is that your vision for the looping process.
Mm-hmm.
The looping process allows for the continuation of learning and accelerates so many different elements. Talk about why the need and what you've seen from the looping related to the master schedule or movement of students from one grade level to the next to the same teacher. How does that impact your district?
It does reduce the amount of time that students have to take to get to know each other and to get to know their teacher.
Sure.
In schools, students have opportunities to develop relationships and interact with a number of adults, but they're also interacting with their classmates.
Yeah.
We don't have other situations in our culture where we require individuals to get to know a new set of people every single year. When you think about that, we don't change jobs. Yes. And so having those relationships in place reduces that stress and anxiety of trying to understand how people tick or what their expectations are of you and how your peers are going to react to certain things or what's important to them as individuals. So reducing those, those types of minutia.
No, it's fine. It's fine. It's the reality.
It isn't really minutia, but
no, you got it.
Reducing that cognitive load on the relations brings a certain level of comfort into the children when they're in school, so that they can get down into the business of learning, and both from an academic side, but also from a human relations side.
I think it's smart. When we talk about determining students' readiness levels, they already know it. When you talk about what interventions students need, they already know it. When you talk about what behaviors that we may need to address, we already know it. When you talk about the engagement side of what students involved with before, during, and after school with their parents, we already have a report with it.
There's a teacher shortage going on all across the country. You're in a very rural area. I imagine you have that problem just like everybody else does. And what are you doing about that? Are you making it easier for would-be instruction to take place through accreditation modifications?
So far, we haven't had a big challenge in filling our teaching positions.
Mm-hmm.
Our district tends to be a district that individuals would like to work in.
Yep.
And so recruitment in and of itself hasn't been a challenge. What has been a challenge for us, similarly to others, is the substitute shortage.
Yeah.
That's been very profound. That's changed a lot in 26 years.
What did you do 26 years ago, and what do you do now?
We developed a relationship with a local university,
Yep.
and so we two local universities, in fact. And what we've done with the college and SUNY Cortland is we have an agreement with them that permits their interns to also work as substitutes with us as a district. And that has helped us with our substitutes, but it's also given us an opportunity to get to know the teachers in training and creates that pipeline.
When my mom was a
Yes.
teacher for 42 years, I would get sick on a moment's notice, sort of like I am today with my cold. And she could get a sub in that classroom by waking up at 5 in the morning, and she'd have somebody ready.
Yeah.
Mhm.
They had a waiting line of people
Yeah.
to do it in that classroom.
Mhm.
Those days are over.
Those days are over.
Yeah, I mean,
Yes.
and whether you have it internally, and sometimes law school districts try to do it internally, and we know that there's some providers out there that do really good things, such as ESS or or others, but they can help them stand up in that process. They may have a better fill rate than internal, but we get it, that creating a longer, stronger bench of individuals that want to stand up and be readily available in the morning.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard and no longer incentivized to be able to do that. And so, the good thing is that, you're focused on it. You've engaged a local college university to be a partner in that process and looking at interns for potential movement into positions.
Mhm.
And then at the same time, you talked about in the next 3 to 5 years, 1/3 of your workforce will retire. And that gives you an opportunity to backfill, allow that attrition to take place, and get individuals in that can work side by side and continue to do cool things for kids.
Mhm. Mhm.
So, all right. Well, thank you so very much for being with us, Martha. We really appreciate it. You continue to, inspire so many, in this forum, but also across the nation as well. Thank you for your hard work. You've heard it today with the Superintendent Group from VBS. I'm your host, Addison Davis, for Superintendents Unplugged, In-Depth with Davis, also with Todd Lamb with On the Clock. Look forward to seeing you next time, and thank you for what you do in 5 years.